Now that we've created a mock-up of the GUI for our app and thought through the program specification document, it's time to go to the AI. Now, before I would start any session, I would give the AI a number of what I would refer to as directives. So here's my current list, and this is, again, subject to change. So I want the AI for every iteration, for every time I enter a new prompt, to do the following. Give me a version number and keep updating the version number. Note any changes in functionality, etc., between the current version and the previous version. And if you go through several iterations, and again by iterations I mean you give the AI a prompt, you get an output, you look at it, it's not quite what you want, you give the AI another prompt, you get another output. So those are iterations. You'll find after you do even 2 or 3 iterations that you can't keep track of which version of code you're looking at. So have the AI do version numbers. 3, add comments for all functions, classes, and other important code. So, and I need to do a video on commenting in general. You don't want to comment everything. You want to comment the big things. So that's what I'm telling it to do. Number 4, give me a complete program listing for each version. Now, we can do this in our situation because most of the things we're going to be doing are going to be relatively short. In the real world, if you're maintaining a large program, it's going to be probably unhandy for you to require the AI to output all the code as well as you inputting all the code that you're trying to maintain. So you may have to cut and paste what the AI wants you to do to accomplish what you ask for. You may have to do that for just pieces of code, but for what we're doing, I want to see the whole program each time. Number 5, favor readability and maintainability in the code. In other words, don't get cute. 6, very important, meaningful variable names. If you're using meaningful variable names, that very much diminishes the necessity of comments. 7, name constants where possible. That's just good programming practice. 8, list any dependencies or required libraries. And 9, list any limitations or problems detected. So again, this is a work in progress. So I'm going to do a Control A and a Control C. Control A, of course, highlights everything, and Control C copies it. Now I'm going to go over now to an application called Cherry Tree. This is free, and it's for note taking. And a lot of professionals use this. Now, this is not the only note-taking app. If you fall down that rabbit hole, you'll find all kinds of things. Now, Cherry Tree actually comes installed on Kali Linux, which is one of the main ethical hacker Linux distributions. So this Cherry Tree is well regarded, and the way it works, and I can't remember if I have a video on this or not. I think I probably do somewhere. Anyway, you have this whole concept of nodes. So here's my high-level node, Python apps, and then underneath this I first have something called initial prompt. Now this is, I've already copied over what I just showed you. I'm not sure. Let's see. Can I rename this? Some of the rules are a little uh, unexpected. I don't think I could rename this. I would call this initial directives. Now, technically, it is the initial prompt, so there's nothing wrong with that. I would just call it something a little different. Now, this is a node. This is a subnode, and this is how you do this. They call it child nodes. So this is another child node, and notice it's the same level as this one. These are children of children nodes. So if you need a high level node or the same level node, you do this. If you need a child, you do this. You can also do this with the right click. So for the app that I've been working on, using as an example, the text snippet app, this is what's underneath of it. And I'm going to start off with the program specification. Now, let's go back and get the document that I filled out. Yes, right here. And I noticed I forgot to put the project name in here. So let's call this Text Minder, and I like to kind of trim this up a little bit. So let's see, just like before, Control A, Control C, and I'm going to come over here, and I could do a Control V and just paste it in directly, or I can do it from the mouse. Now, this, you'll notice here, I put the whole program specification in Cherry Tree. Now, I'm using Cherry Tree for documentation. This will allow me to go back and see how the interaction with the AI actually proceeded. And I'm going to have my code, the output code copied in or pasted into this, etc. So this is documentation. So we've got our program development spec document in here. Now we're ready to actually go to the AI. Now, a lot of the things we've done here, we're going to actually repeat those as inputs to the AI. So let's get started. I'm going to use Copilot again because we have an enterprise account and it's never told me I was out of time or usage, whatever. So here we're going to start. Now remember, we want to first give it these directives. So Control A, Control C. Now I've noticed here with Copilot, if you right click the mouse, you get nothing. So this is one of those situations where a Control V actually pastes this in. And by the way, if you press enter, it's going to actually send whatever's in the message box to AI. If you want to keep adding new lines to whatever you're typing in, hold down the shift key, do a shift enter. So here are my directives. So I'm going to click the arrow, and Copilot, again being the friend as it is, it's remembering something I was working on before. So I actually developed this. But anyway, you won't get this type of output. You'll get something that says this. So here's what we're going to do. If you click the plus sign here, you can upload a file and images. And let's see here. So this is my program development specification document, and it's in Word. Now I need to add to this my first prompt for the, I'm going to call it attached. How about, let's spell it out, program development specification. And this may not be the proper or the best term for this, but it will serve our purposes. For the attached program development specification document, create a Python GUI app. Now, we should be able to just press enter. Well, let's find out. Now, I mentioned a while ago that you're going to have to copy a lot of the things you put into the AI into your cherry tree. So let's just go and do that. I'm going to copy this first prompt. So there's our specification. Here's prompt 1. Let's paste prompt 1 right in here. Now, after we get the output, we're going to put the output code here. We're also going to put a screenshot after we run this. And this is going to be part of our documentation. So, let's click the arrow. So here's the things I asked for. These are the directives. So this is all part of the directives. Now here's your program listing. And you want to, you can copy this right here and we'll paste it into an IDE. And I recommend PyCharm. It's free, it's professional grade. It will make your life so much easier. And you can put that on your resume. What I was going to say is you can copy this here, but you don't want to get in too big a hurry because it takes a while to generate this code. So I always scroll down all the way. And if you get to this cryptic if name is the same thing as main in quotations, you got to the end. You're done. So then now you can copy it. So now let's go to PyCharm. Now again, PyCharm is free. You can get this at jetbrains.com. If I can get the help to open up, hopefully there's an address here. About PyCharm, and I'm using the Community Edition. Actually, this is from a couple years ago. There's probably a newer one. This works just fine though. I was hoping to, well, the name of the company is JetBrains. So jetbrains.com will is where you go to actually download PyCharm. And they don't call it the Community Edition anymore. They just give away one edition of this. Now, there's a whole lot more programming related things at JetBrains. If you look around there, there's a link there. You can, with your kctcs.edu email address, sign up for a free account. This is good for a year and it's renewable as long as you have an edu email, and you can use pretty much anything on their site. And this, again, this is professional grade stuff. So it works well, and it's something you put on your resume. So I opened up PyCharm. Now yours will come up probably empty. Well, it will the first time come up empty. This is something I was using, or I was working on developing earlier, a few days ago. So what I'm going to do is go to File, New Project, and I get this window. Here's the name. So in here I'm going to put Text Minder, and notice where the location where it's going to get saved. I'm putting mine in a folder under my documents called my AI coding projects. You can call yours whatever you want. I'm actually using a slightly older version of Python than what you probably have installed, and I'm just too lazy to to change it. So if you notice that on yours, don't worry about it. So I've named it, and I know where it's going, so now I can click Create, and I want a new window here, and I wait for this. And one of the things with PyCharm is you can have different virtual environments for each of your apps. So that's kind of a neat thing. Now I need to go to the TextMinder project, right click, New Python file. So here I'm actually going to put in the name TextMinder, and I should have noted a while ago the version is v1.0. I happen to know this is what it's going to be. Now you can put the PY on here or not. It'll do it for you if you don't. Now here's where I need to paste the code. So this is the code that was generated by Copilot based on my directives and my program specification document. Now I can click here, this little green arrow, and run it. So this is what the first iteration looks like. Now we got save and load at the bottom, and this we got all 20, but I'd have to scroll down to get to them. So let's do this. You remember I wanted to document this whole process. So let's go back over here. Now remember, I've pasted in my code. So if I paste here, this is the code. Okay? So this is the code. And now I could track down, let's see, where's it at? This is the output, and I want to do a Windows key Shift S, which gives me the snippet tool. And I'm going to take a snippet of that and go back to Cherry Tree. And I'm going to paste this in. And now I could either make a critique here of what's wrong, and whatever's wrong here is going to become prompt number 2. So I'm just going to make a note here. Let's see. And I'm sitting here contemplating whether I like the save and load buttons at the bottom. I'm probably okay with that. I am going to make a note or two here. The copy buttons need to be on the left, and I thought I specified this, side of the text boxes, and position the text boxes in columns of 10, and you'll see what that does in a moment. I come up with a couple of things here just based on visuals. We really should go and check out as much functionality as we can here. So let's input some text, and more text. Now let's go down here and click on save and see what happens there. So we got a save as box. And let's look here. This is TextMinder. This is where I was at earlier. Now, you recall in the program specification, I told it I wanted to save this as a text file. So let's do this. So let's call this default.text. And that is kind of dangerous there because a lot of things are called default. So I might, in the real world, you probably should call it something besides that, something to make it obvious that this is related to this particular document. So now let's close out of this and go back to PyCharm. And remember, part of the specification was it should auto-load the default file if it finds it. So let's run it again. And it found the file, and it loaded what we'd saved before, which is good. We could, and probably should at some point, test out this function by creating, well, let's do this. Let's go look at this file and see what the format is. So this is what was saved, which that's interesting. It is really a text file. Now, what we could do here is to check the load function. We could create a new file of our own. And this is, I'm going to enter in some text. Text 1. This is text 2. And I'm going to save this. I got to navigate to where the app itself is to keep everything together. And I'm going to call this load test.text and save it. And now let's click on load, and there's our load test. Let's open it up, and it works. So the core functionality seems to be working, so we don't have to worry about that. Now you have to be careful. The more iterations you go through with AI, the more likely it is to start what's called hallucinating. And in that case, you can actually lose functionality that had been working for several previous iterations. So you really have to kind of keep on top of this whole testing thing because AI is not perfect. So I'm okay with what we got so far, except what I noted here. I want the copy buttons on the left side. I think it's just easier. I want to position the text boxes in columns of 10 because I don't want to have to scroll. And I noticed that the text boxes here, it's kind of hard to tell, they're two lines in height. I want just one. A single line of text that, what's the word I want here, that resizes as needed. So you'll notice here there's two lines here that just makes everything taller. So for a lot of things I'm going to do, I just need a single line of text. So that's my critique of where the limitations or the failings of this version. So now I'm going to go to prompt 2, and what I just wrote is going to become at least the foundation of my second prompt. And in this case, I'm just going to feed that right into the AI. So now just to recall here, what did we do? We had a prompt, initial prompt. We copied the code into Cherry Tree. We copied it into PyCharm. We ran it. We did a screenshot, put that into Cherry Tree. Now, I did some testing, and I could have done some more screenshots. Probably should have, but that kind of depends on the circumstance. I think it's pretty obvious what I want changed here. But anyway, keep that in mind. Test, make screenshots. Go to prompt 2. This is going to be my second prompt. Go back to Copilot. Control V. Send it. So notice here, now we're up to version 1.1. Okay. Here, per my directives at the beginning, are what changed. And really, a couple of things here. And I didn't exactly do this on the first iteration. Again, before you copy this code, make sure that it's finished. Now, here's the rest of my initial directives and the program spec document. If I copy this whole thing, I get all this. So let's go back over here to Cherry Tree as part of our documentation, and let's copy and paste all the output. So here's all the changes that are noted, etc. There's the code and limitations, design decisions, etc. Suggestions for next version. There's usually a comment at the end. You can delete this or leave it. Doesn't make any difference. Now, we've got our documentation in Cherry Tree up to the point where we're at. Now we need to come back up here and actually copy the code. So we're going to copy the code. We're going to go back to PyCharm. TextMinder. Now here's what I do. This is version 1. I come back up here to TextMinder, go to New, Python file. This is going to be TextMinder version 1.1. You can overwrite this one, but I do think it's handy to maintain all your versions, because sometimes, I mentioned a while ago about the whole idea of the AI can basically start hallucinating, going off on a tangent, and destroy functionality that you were happy with. So sometimes it might really save your, to go back to version 1.3 and say, well, here, let's start here and do something. So anyway, this is version 1.1, and let's run it. Now, this is nice. So we've got single line, we've got 10 and 10. We don't have numbers on this, but I'm okay with that. And your load and save are down here at the bottom, out of the way. I have a version of this where they are on a menu up at the top, and that causes a certain amount of problems, because to get the menu to be as minimal as possible gets tricky. But I like it. I like the buttons down here, save and load. And I pointed out in an earlier video that this is the third or fourth time really that I've done a little text snippet app. And depending on the AI you're using, or actually the day of the week or whatever, sometimes you go in different directions and you actually like those directions. So I like this. It's straightforward. Now, in this case, let's see. Let me do a snippet of this while I'm thinking about it for the documentation. and go back to Cherry Tree and paste it in right here. And of course, if we follow the what we did in prompt 1, we would basically make some comments here. I like this. Need to test. Now, we do need to test. I'm not going to do it in this video because it's already 30 minutes. But you saw what we did with the output from prompt number 1. We tested out all the functionality. And in this case, part of the functionality was to find if there is a default text file, load it. Well, on startup, and it did. So at least that part works. So you want to test, all the essential functionality every time. And while I'm here in Cherry Tree, let me show you what you can do as far as getting something you can turn in. You can, and I would actually go back up to here. Well, let's go to here. And I'll probably have you turn this in separately. Although, I'll probably just give this to you and you can just copy and paste it in there. Anyway, for this particular app, this is the top level node. If I right click, and I may have to go to the, I got to go up here to the file menu. File, export. There's several things I can do here. If I export to PDF, I get this little dialog. Do I want all the tree? Do I want the selected node only? Or most of the time I find it's going to be the selected node and the subnodes. So click OK. Now, where you want to put it. And this is what I was working on earlier. So this is where we are right now. Let's see. I'm going to take this part out and call it text minder. And I'm going to put Python just in case at some point I decide to do this in a different language. So I'm going to save that. And now let's go look at it. And of course I've got this open here in my other monitor. So let me open it up. So here's the output PDF from Cherry Tree. And you'll notice, and I did do some changes on these the formatting that was left over from the output of the program development specification document from AI, and these are a little bit annoying. We need to continue cleaning that up. As I think about it, the simple thing might be to export all this as text and then re-import it, copy it back into Word, and it'll lose all of that unnecessary formatting. But anyway, you'll see here what we have is this is what we had saved in or pasted into Cherry Tree. So now we have complete documentation, and you can turn this in. This is be part of what you turn in. So this was the screenshot of version 1. So this is prompt 2. Notice it's doing the child nodes. And for the second prompt, I pasted in the entire output of the AI, including this information here, which is pretty important, as far as documentation, to show you what you're looking at. And of course, we should go through this and kind of see what it actually output, and we'll do that at some point. Again, I'm trying to keep this video a reasonable length. I tend to talk a lot. So here's our new version, which I'm pretty happy with. I like this. It could be prettier. I just told it to do it, and it probably used the Tkinter framework for the GUI. And now there's cooler, there's cooler GUI frameworks for Python. Tkinter happens to be kind of the default. But some of the other ones give you a lot more modern look that you might prefer. I'm okay with this utilitarian, although I'm not opposed to color. Let me show you one of my other versions of this. And I forgot which framework this one uses. This one I expanded to 40, and I'm a little bit annoyed. It opens up like this, so you can't see those other ones over there. And if you're sitting there thinking, why would you ever have 40 different things you want to keep up with? You'd be surprised. So I think 20 is probably the sweet spot. I don't know, 30 might actually be the sweet spot, but I filled this up. Don't worry about it. Anyway, this one, more modern, and I can't remember if this is, which one this is, of the frameworks. You can Google it. Now, one more little bit of information. If you do decide to use something besides Tkinter, when you try to run this, you're going to get an error. And then what you want to do is, it'll say something like, I can't remember what some of them are named, such is not installed. What you do is you come down here and click on Terminal, and you type pip install, and then give it the name that you were told couldn't be found, and it'll install it for you. So pip is the Python install program, and then you're good to go. So you do that in Terminal, which is down here at the bottom. So I think I'm ready to wrap up this particular video. Of course, the black square is what you use to close that window. So what I've covered today is what I want you to do for documentation. So I know some of you are sitting there thinking, why should I worry about documentation? Well, I'm pretty sure if you do manage to get the high-paying, high-powered programming job that supposedly you're studying for, your company is going to want you to maintain some documentation. They're going to want to see something to justify paying you. And I'm sure you've heard this before in other programming classes, but a lot of what you're going to do in your career is going to be maintaining existing code. And you will thank your lucky stars if you do find adequate and up-to-date information about what you're trying to maintain. So be nice to whoever maintains your code, which is probably going to be you. So document. Document everything. It takes seconds now, it can save you hours later on. I think this is a good place to end this video. There will be an assignment.